Oh, hey, I'm so glad you're here. It's me, Mark, your friendly everyday bisexual man, and this is Not Defining, the place where we delve into all of those questions around sexuality, gender, love, relationships, and so much more. Today, we are having a debate that has been had many, many times before. Is it more difficult to be a bi woman in this world or to be a bi man? Now, I know so many of you have opinions on this, so please write them in the comments. My opinion will be biased. See what I did there? Because I'm male presenting, but this comes from loads of conversations with bi women and bi men and people of all genders. So I hope that it's helpful just to set out some ideas. So I'm going to get right to it. I've got my bi mug. Now, statistically, the data do not lie. It is empirically more challenging to be a bisexual woman in this world than it is to be a bisexual man. Across almost all indicators, women will suffer higher levels of verbal abuse, physical abuse, discrimination, harassment, and so on than their bisexual male counterparts. Now, part of this is because, unfortunately, it is just generally more difficult to be a woman in this world than it is to be a man. I would love for bisexuality to be this kind of bastion of exception where no misogyny and sexism exist, but unfortunately that's not true. So we could kind of leave the conversation there. I mean, specifically, we know that women face more challenges than men. However, for what concerns the bi community, there are a few interesting different layers beneath that I think it's worth exploring. By the way, if you're struggling with your sexuality, with discrimination, or anything else, then come, click subscribe, join our community because we've got so much information and resources out there. You can also join our Patreon community where we have group chats and we help each other through whatever we are experiencing. So we'd love to see you there. So I think the key thing when it comes to women and men in the bisexual community is there's this idea that a lot of people say two women showing affection or being together is like more accepted in the heteronormative space than two men. And a lot of people say, okay, well, this means that it's easier for women to be visibly bisexual, if you like, than it is for men. And I think that's true to a certain extent. You know, it's much less threatening to see two women kissing, and also, if a woman kisses a woman, she will also not necessarily be thought of as gay. So she might then have a relationship with a man. Her male partner may even enjoy it or just be not threatened by it, and it'll be fine. Okay, so there's a lot of allowance for female bisexuality and broad kind of sensual, intimate experiences. For men, if a man kisses a man, that's a big deal, right? Not only will people respond with kind of this repulsion, like, oh, that's horrible, that's terrible, oh, no one's enjoying that, but he will also often be branded as gay and will find it very, very difficult to find a female partner after that. So there is this kind of inequality when it comes to men being allowed to express our bisexuality visibly and with women. We also have to delve underneath this though, because there is a negative side of this kind of freedom, if you can call it that. It's all based on the heteronormative patriarchy. So the idea that two women kissing is attractive to cis hetero men means that it's more allowed. What it actually means though is that if you fall outside of that kind of stereotype or that imaginary image that cis hetero men have, then you will not enjoy that same level of permission or acceptance. The other thing behind that is that it feeds into the fetishization of bisexual women. Okay, so the idea is that if you're a bisexual woman, well, that's not really a valid identity. It's not something serious. It's just something that you're doing to play up for your male husband or boyfriend, something that you're doing as a fetish to kind of please his gaze, to kind of turn him on, or to, just have fun, something like that's not taken seriously. And this is such a huge, huge, huge hurdle for bisexual women when they are trying to show up in this world and be respected. So it's kind of, yes, it's easier in one way, but there's a lot more to it, and it can be different. The other thing just to say about men visibly being with men is that I think a lot of the time we are concerned legitimately with the threat of violence. Okay, so if a woman kisses a woman, or a woman chats up a woman, or a woman is intimate, or affectionate or tactile with another woman, it's a lot easier in most cases. And if the other woman isn't into it, it might just be like, oh, okay, well, not into that. Whereas for us guys, we are really risking physical violence, okay? Because if you misfire and you flirt with a man, or you chat up a man, or you're affectionate or tactile with a man who isn't into it, there's a huge, huge, huge risk that you could be assaulted, verbally abused, physically abused, beaten up. So there will often be a much, much more aggressive reaction for us men. So we have to be a lot more careful. There's a lot more risk, I think. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. The other thing that people often say about bisexual women is that they are more represented in the media and popular culture. I think this is true if you look at the amount of female bisexual characters in shows, films, TV, books, what have you. There are many, many more than there are men. Once again, I think this is because it's just more accepted for a woman to be bi and for that to be an acceptable identity than it is for men. What you'll often find as well is that there are more female bisexual celebrities who are out, or public figures who are out, and there are very, very few visible bisexual men in this world. Okay, so it's difficult in that sense, because then it snowballs. So like the more representation you have, the more people feel comfortable and mirrored and seen, and they have role models, so the more people can come out. So it's more difficult, I think, as a bi man, because you don't have those role models being visible to look at. So hopefully more men and women will come out as bi and be comfortable in it. On the other hand, I think a really, really key thing for women, which is challenging, is actually being accepted in the queer community. I speak to so many bisexual, multisexual women who say, I just don't feel I fit in queer spaces. They feel they fit in heterosexual spaces more often, but they don't feel queer enough. Yet they get a lot of biphobia, perhaps from the gay female community, the lesbian community, or others. And it's this idea that you're not really queer, like you're not really belonging here. You're just some silly straight girl who's like Katy Perry, I kissed the girl and I liked it. You're just having fun and you're not respecting our community and you don't deserve to be here. This can be so difficult to deal with for bi women. Once again, the idea is that if you're a guy and you go into a gay bar, like you're there for a reason. Like you are there because you wouldn't be there if you weren't queer, because guys wouldn't go there. Whereas for women, it's like, I'm here and it's much easier. So there's the dark side of that. It's like, well, you get more accepted in the straight world, so you've got privilege. So you're not welcome here. By the way, anyone who is doing that, please stop, because it's awful. Stop projecting on us bi people. Thank you so much. I think the other thing about queer spaces is that they are often male dominated in general. So if you are a queer woman of any kind, lesbian, gay woman, asexual woman, intersex woman, trans, whatever, there are less places for you to go in the queer community, right? So many bars and clubs and venues are centered around men, predominantly gay men. And there aren't that many venues that are catering for queer women specifically. So I think that can often be a hurdle. It's like, well, I'd like to engage in the queer community, but there just isn't as much there for me as there might be for a guy. So I always think that as a queer man, I'm like, imagine how much more difficult it would be engaging in the queer community as a queer woman. And the final one that I just wanted to mention is the idea of comphet or compulsory heterosexuality. And this is a particular theory which states that for women, society has been structured in such a way that they almost have to be heterosexual in order to survive, in order to actually engage as a human in this world. And there's a lot of different kind of information about that. I'm not going to go into it, but it's essentially about kind of the way in which women have been subjugated in patriarchy and how heterosexuality has played into that in a way that men haven't. Okay, so men have their own challenges, but for women, there's a whole, I think, element of patriarchy and sexism which plays into this in a different way. So if you want to know more about comphet, then I will post a link in the description. It's very interesting, and maybe I'll do a video on it at some point. But until then, thank you for listening. I hope that you agreed or disagreed and will write down what you think. I hope you enjoyed it. If someone you know would benefit from this video, I would love if you share it. Please subscribe because we've got loads more coming out and it really helps us out. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What are your thoughts? Let me know. Once again, if you'd like to join our Patreon community, then click the link in the description and you can come meet loads of wonderful people. If you'd like one-on-one coaching from me, I would love to see you. I can help you through anything that you would like to talk about. Once again, link is in the description below. If you'd like to know more about bisexuality, then check out this video here and this playlist. And I will speak to you again very soon. Love to all my bi men and my bi women. Bye for now.